Please, Dr. Hamed, are you with us now? Are you ready to your presentation?
Yes, I am here, Dr. Samir. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, my colleague, Dr. Hamed. Our attendance, as you know, Dr. Hamed will present about the traditional architecture and urban communities in Basra. Dr. Hamed has a PhD from University of Salford, Manchester, from UK. Please, Dr. Hamed, you will have 20 minutes for your presentation.
Yeah, is my presentation showing now?
Yeah, everything is well. Please, mic is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sabih, and many thanks for all of attendance, and special thanks for the organizers for this opportunity to share the knowledge about the humanity heritage of Iraq, and to represent the challenge that facing the preserving architectural in Iraq. We start from the middle of the Iraq and then move up to the north of Iraq, and now we are moved down to the south of Iraq. And I will talk about traditional architecture and urban community in Basra. First of all, at the beginning, I want to start with the brief history about Basra city. I assume that some of you don't have enough background about the Basra city, so I will talk about brief history about the city. City of Basra is established long and historical city established 1400 years ago by Muslims, and it is the main city and the Muslims in Iraq, Basra and Kufa. And it was the mosque of the city that's showing in this picture was the third mosque built by Muslim out of the Arabian Peninsula, the third mosque after the Masjid al-Haram in Mecca and the Prophet mosque in Medina, al-Masjid al-Nabawi. And this is the third mosque in Islam, and now still existing, just only the minaret of the mosque still existing now. It's related to the built by Imam Ali, and he was in this mosque during the battle of Al-Jamal that happened in 1400 years ago. According to the long history, thanks to the rich history, Basra has included many shrines, many historical buildings, and it is rich with the heritage and historical building, like for example, Az-Zubair ibn al-Awam shrine, which is located in the west of the Basra, and Talha ibn Khuwaylid shrine, also located in the west of the Basra. Both of them killed in the Al-Jamal battle. Al-Jamal battle. And also there is many others shrine and historical building and mosque to look like, for example, Al-Hasan al-Basri shrine with the unique minaret. It is very few minaret look like that's its style in the world, in the Islamic world. And also there is others, al-Maqam. It is a significant mosque in Basra, and it has a long history, about 800 years ago. And also Ibn Jawzi shrine, and there is others shrines look like Rabi' al-Adawiyya and Anas ibn Malik and so on. So it's rich with the historical building, and also it has also another, for example, features look like this trees is called the tree that's called Adam tree. And the story said that the Adam, when he coming down from the heaven, this is the tree of him. So, as I mentioned, Basra is located, and the location of the Basra is located at the east south of the Iraq, and its border with three countries, from the east Iran, and from the south Kuwait, and from the east south Saudi Arabia. And it's also the only seaport for Iraq, and as well as it's the capital, economic capital of Iraq now currently. And this location give it a strategic important in Iraq for economic and for historical building. So, and the city of Basra has a diversity, and the diversity of the city of Basra is unique. It's not available in other cities. It has three natural environment, three parts or three area. At the north of the city, the marsh, which is special environment, and it's listed in the World Heritage List a few years ago. And at the west of the city, the Az-Zubair, which is a desert environment, and at the south, the forest of the plum. And Basra was very famous city with the palms trees, and it was the first city on the Arabian world about that. And this different natural environment impacted the built environment in this three areas. So there is in any one of this area has a unique architectural style and has a unique style of the built environment. And according to that, I want to make a comparison between the arts, and as I want to mention that it's differences between this the center, the city center, and the north, the marshes, and the west. It is the Zubair desert city. I want to make comparison between them to highlight the differences between them about community and architectural style. So about the architectural style, I want to start with that. So at the Zubair, as you see, this is a different style of architecture, which is unique, and it's related more related to the Arabian Gulf cities more than to Iraqi cities. They use the clay, as you see, and there is a special style of houses, and it's very close to the Arabian Islamic city, traditional Islamic city on the Islamic world. At the city center, there is a different style of the architecture, which is about Shanashil, as they mentioned by my colleagues. However, there is the Shanashil of Basra is different than the other Shanashil in Baghdad and Arbil and in Mosul. So there is a different style of the Shanashil, which is the wooden balcony that you on the facade of the houses and the buildings. At the marsh, there is also a different kind of the style of the architectural. This is the house of the marsh, which is built by beads, and it's very famous and very old style of architectural in the area. According to the material that's using for the sorry, okay. According to the local material that using most of the areas, both all of them has different local material. And Zubair, as I said, in the desert, they use clay, and as you see, this is the kind of the wall, and you can see the width of the wall, which is about more than 80 centimeter or maybe 1 meter. It is used for climate isolation and to create a comfortable climate in the situation and inside the house or inside the building. On the city center, they used bricks, yellow bricks, which is also different. Each is maybe it's used on the another city of the Iraq, but it's also famous in the city of Basra, in the center city of Basra. Marsh, they use the breed because it's available in the area, and it's a natural material. and they, as you see, they are tied it together to make look like columns, and then bolted the house that I mentioned and I showed before. So each one of this built environment has a different local material. Regarding the social relationship, all of the community in Basra, they have a strong relation. They still have a strong relationship. Have to be a week in the city center of Basra, but on the west of the Basra and the Zubair and on the marsh, the social relationship is still very strong, and the communication between the people and the neighbors very high. And as you see, for example, this is in the marsh, they are meeting every morning to drink coffee and to discuss about the life issue. And also in the Basra city, they are the young people play together and enjoy together and communicate with each other. And also in the Zubair city, there is, as you see, there is a strong relationship. There is, for example, this one is a occasion. For example, the first day of the Eid, the first breakfast of the Eid, and they invite all the neighbors to have breakfast together on the early morning of the Eid after Ramadan. After Ramadan. So each one of them bring his dish or his meal from the house and put it together and have it together. In regard to the transportation, also there is a different kind of the transportation between areas. And the Zubair city in the west of the Basra, they depend on the carriage horse. They will buy a horse, and it's very famous and still existing nowadays. And also in the city center of the Basra, also there is traditional bus, and it's made by wood, and it's very famous in Basra. It become like icon for the city center of the Basra, and it's also still working now in the city of Basra. While in the marsh, of course, the traditional port is called Al-Mashhouf, which is the main transportation meal to move between the area. So, in regard to the meal, or to the traditional meal, okay, there is also a differentiation between the three areas. I want to mention that the fish is the main meal in the Basra city. All the people like or prepare fish on the meal and eat it several days in the week. But there is a difference for the way to how to cook it. For example, in Zubair, they dry it under the sun for 2 or 3 weeks under the sun, and then they cook it after 2 or 3 weeks. They cook it as a soup. In both cases, for example, yellow soup or red soup like curry. This is called al-masmuta, and they eat it many times, and especially on the occasion I mentioned before on the breakfast of the Eid. And in the city of the city center of the Basra, the dolma is the main dish on the houses, on the family, and also it's cooked by 2 ways. One of them is salt dolma, and the others is sweet dolma. It is a leaf and rice covered by leaf. While in the marsh, they are also prepare the fish, but they prepare the small fish with sabaras, and because it's available in their local environment. Also, in the equation, there is a different style of the food. For example, in the Zubair, this is the kind of the chorak. It's used on the equation. On the city center, this is the kleja. It's main meal that offered to the guest during the Eid. And In marshes, there is a siyah, which is rice flour and put it and flour it. So different kind of occasion. According to the crafts, also there is a differentiation between them. In Zubair, the slippers, this is the traditional slippers, is called as Zubair slipper, which is very famous in the Arabian Gulf city, and they import it to the many Arabian countries like Saudi and Kuwait and so on. They prefer it because it's good quality and very traditional slippers. And in the city center, the date industry is crafts is very famous, and there is many kind of the date of in Basra. As I mentioned, the Basra was famous with the palm trees and the date, and all the Iraqis prefer and like the date of the Basra, especially the Barhi is which one? The one is called Barhi. On the marshes, there is using the leaves and the breeds to make many tools or many furnitures, for example, dishes and so on. And this is the main crafts for them. Regarding the childhood, and also each one has a different kind of the games or play between the childs, as you mentioned, because it's the local environment impact this kind, as you see in the marshes. They play with the water and the animals that are valuable there, and in the Zubair city also they play with special games between them. Regard to the costumes and traditional fashion clothes, also there is a differentiation between the three areas. For example, in the Zubair, in the west of the Basra, this is the traditional costumes. They wear the red head cover or the red mulfer, this one. While in the marshes they wearing the white with the black spot. While in the Zubair, red with the black spot, and this is the differentiation. And for example, for the marshes, they borrow this one, as the story said, from the Sumerian trowel net, because the Sumerian they use the trowel net for the fishing, and they cover their head by to protect them from the sun on the hot climate. And as I said, this is the borrow from that. It's look like a net of the fishing now. While in the Basra city, the modern style of the clothes is available there. However, the background is a traditional house, but they wearing a modern style. And the contrast in the Zubair, the building or the space that they live in it and the furniture is modern, but they keep wearing the traditional costumes. This is about the comparison between three areas or three built environment in Basra. I move now to the transformation that happened for the architectural identity and architectural style in Basra city during the 20th century. First, start with the Ottoman period, because it is the original one, and as you see in this image, this is the style of the Ottoman period at that time in the early 19 and the end of the 19th century. And as you see, the style of the Shanashil, the clock is called. The famous landmark was in Basra and damaged now and destroyed now, demolished. It's called, and the other one is the Shanashil and the rivers and the impact of the rivers on the elevation and the urban landscape of the Basra city, and the traditional houses and the attached houses, as you see there, and the courtyard of the houses, the courtyard, which was very important features of the traditional houses, and also for the details of the decoration and also details of the, for example, columns and ceiling and so on. So also the decoration of the bricks. This is decoration for the wood, and this is the decoration of the yellow bricks. And you see how they try to distinguish the entrance and the gate of the house by this is decoration. And this picture show the winding and the twisting inlay. The narrow inlay was the urban fabric of the city of the Basra, and as you see the houses and the local environment in this inlay. This is about the Ottoman period. So we move to the British period. British occupied Iraq in 1914, as mentioned in this picture, in the 23rd of November, the flag of the British rising above the Qishla building there, and the troops of the British soldiers entered to the Basra. And there is a different style, the duration of the period of the British start from 1914 till the mid of the 20th century. And they built many houses. For example, this is the houses and building, especially for the government building. For example, this is a port building, office building, and this is the airport, the old airport of the Basra, created by the British in the early 20th century. And also the more secondary school, the model school of the student, and also the local and traditional market of Al-Ashar. And there is many also landmark. For example, this landmark about this is like the hut of the workers, and this is in the Iraq during the war in Iraq. So there is a different style, like the original style of the Ottoman, and there is a transformation that happened. And other buildings they built especially at that time for the government, for the kingdom of the Iraq, that's starting in 1920. So many buildings have been built to occupy the offices of the building of the government. So the houses were the most significant impact on the urban landscape of the Basra city. There were about 82 houses still existing now, but most of them damaged and have bad situation, and some of them still existing in good situation. About 32 of them honored by the government in 18th of the last century, while the others still for the private people. Many houses, as I mentioned, but this is the sample of the houses. There is very famous houses. For example, the first one is Sabah houses, which is related to the family of the Prince of the Kuwait, Sabah. And this one, the Ottoman Wali, the governor of the Basra houses. And this one for the Pasha Ayan, who was representative of the Basra in the Iraqi parliament in early 20th century. And this house of the Naqib house also. And this one for the Sheikh Khaz'al house, who was the governor of the east of the south of the east west southwest of the Iran, Muhammara and Abadan, and also he was in Basra. So there is many. So it's look like this is related to another country, and this one related to another country. So there is communication with the other country during that time. Venice of the east. This is the nickname that holding by Basra during the last century, especially in the mid-century, and that's what because there is many canals and rivers crossing the city of the Basra and past of the Basra. As we see in this old map, it's about, as they said, this is about more than 300 rivers were in Basra, and nowadays just only 8 is still existing, unfortunately, and there is some security handful the rest of the Venice of the Basra, because as we see, this is the Venice and this is the Basra at the last time, and we can see the canals and the similarity between
Hamed,
boats, similarity. Yes, yeah, I will finish. How many minutes?
2 minutes, please.
Please be generous with me and give me 5 minutes. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor. So I will talk faster about the current situation. Now we reach the current situation, unfortunately, as we see in these pictures and in this image, the bad situation for the rivers, for the houses, the demolished of the houses, for the marshes, for example. This is the marshes. What happened for the marshes? Drying, and also for the Zubair city, many traditional buildings demolished, and the urban landscape between the traditional urban landscape and the new and the modern landscape, which is very contrast between that. The challenge, there are many challenges, but I can conclude 3 main challenges. This is what the first one is, the political factor, which is related to the wars, because Basra, unlike a city, it is located at with the border with many countries, and most of these countries, Iraq were in wars with them during the 18th and 90s with the Kuwait and the Iran. So according to that, most of the people leave the city. Basra was under attack every day from the bombs, and according to that, all the original people leave the city, and there is a huge demographic change happened for the city. And also the economic factor is important, because Basra is the main industrial oil industrial in Iraq. About 80% of the industrial of the oil industrial in Iraq located in Basra, and this is facing the extension of the city. So there is a pressure of the city center on the historical building. The awareness of the society is also the main challenge, because as I said, as I mentioned, most of the original people leave, and the new people coming, and they don't have any belonging to the local environment, and they don't have any sense for the traditional architecture, so they don't care about it. The fourth one is the investment. After 2003, many companies entered to the Basra, foreign companies, and built many buildings in different functions, malls, housing buildings, or hotels, and most of these buildings was far from the city center, from the city separates, and it's related to the ideology of the foreign company. They bring it with them from the outside. So this is the main challenge that's facing the preserving of the architectural style, traditional architectural style of the Basra city. I am finished. Thank you so much for listening.